Hello, everyone, and welcome today. Hopefully you enjoyed our intro there. You're dancing a little bit in your offices, or maybe your at-home office. So we hope you enjoyed that mini sizzle reel that we had kicking off today's presentation. If you're joining us today, you're probably an agency that we either already work with, or you may have been referred to us through one of our affiliate partnerships with agencies that we're already working with. Potentially across the country. So we work with about 300 agencies as a part of an affiliate program. Many of you are a part of that are joining us here today. And this is a part of our Give Back program to agencies. So we've designed this series specifically for you all and any fractional CMOs who are also here participating today. So welcome everyone. If you're not an agency that already works with us, that's okay. We're glad that you were able to join us today. We're excited to show you some different ideas around branded content and the future of storytelling and making and creating meaningful connections for brands that you all already work with. Couple of housekeeping rules. We have some folks who are helping to answer any questions you may have as we go along in the chat. So if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. Just make sure that drop down is marked panelists and all attendees. We want to make sure that those questions are being funneled up to all the participants who are able to answer those questions that are on staff with Local IQ and our branded content and agency affiliate team. So those champions are on today's call. They're helping to assist. We've actually pulled two in, Sarah Willard and Lauren Calvert, that are part of our agency affiliate champions, and they will be helping to facilitate answers today. So make sure you put those in the chat. The other thing is we want this to be fun. We want it to be engaging. Let us know through the reaction button. What do you think? If we say something funny, laugh. If we don't give us a sad face. Just put all of your reactions, raise your hand if you have a question. You can come off mute. That feature is enabled. We do want this to be an interactive webinar for you all today. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off and get started. One of the reasons that we are starting with branded content, as you think about this series, and you may have saw that there are 4 sessions coming up. We wanted to kick off with branded content today because we're in a really unique position. Local IQ is the marketing arm for Gannett and USA Today Network. So we have an opportunity to get access to the 1 and 2 adults across the United States that are engaging with USA Today's content every single day, and there are 260 brands across the country. So we do have 260 local brands. Those are local newspapers and media companies across the country, and they're across 46 states. But not only do we have those consumer insights and how consumers are actually engaging with content, how that content resonates with them, and different types of content that maybe influence their purchase behaviors or their brand affinity differently. We also are working with over 300,000 digital campaigns across the country. That allows us to have some really unique insights where not only do we get to see how consumers engage with content that's produced, but we also get to see how they react to our customers' brands and to agencies, clients' brands that are across the country. So we're going to take a lot of those insights today and pair them up with branded content so you guys get an opportunity to really see what that looks like and ask some questions today as we go through this presentation. So who are we as far as Local IQ goes? Local IQ, as I said, is the marketing arm for USA Today and Gannett. So we help businesses across the country and agencies create marketing campaigns. We actually have a very large technology portfolio for how we deliver different advertising campaigns across the country. And today we're not only going to show you different types of creative elements that work really well in branded content that you can take back and pair with your clients' campaigns, but we're also going to show you some advances in reporting that's really important to implement when you're launching branded content. And our Get Creative team is a group of highly specialized marketers. They're videographers, they're designers, and they're journalists. And they help us make sure that as we're creating content, as we're producing content, and as we're distributing it across multiple platforms, that it resonates really well with our clients. So we have an entire studio that is here and ready to partner with agencies to help that great content that you guys are creating and bring it to life in different ways that will resonate when that content's on a publisher site, which is very different than creating regular advertising campaigns. So today, what we're going to do is walk you through those examples, how to tell a better story through branded content. Now, why are we talking about branded content other than the fact that we're a publisher and we produce really good content and engage with consumers across the United States? Well, it's because of what we're seeing with consumers. So here are 3 reasons that we're having this conversation. The first is that statistic you see around consumers, that they prefer to learn about products through content rather than traditional advertising. This is a change that's been evolving over the last 5 or 6 years, and we continue to see the statistic raise. So when we started rolling out branded content and really revolutionizing our own branded content platforms about 5 or 6 years ago, this number was in the 40s and 50%. You can see now 70% of consumers prefer to learn about and engage with brands in this way. However, that second statistic you see on the screen is also a reason why we're having this conversation. What we hear constantly is that marketers are finding it really challenging to produce engaging content. How does that get delivered? What are different ways to raise a customer of yours or clients' ROI? How do you produce unique variations of branded content? That's a big challenge. So we're going to talk about best practices today. We're going to give you tips on the creative side, but also how to pair with publishers who are going to make sure that they distribute that content well and that they're able to optimize that content for you. And then that last statistic, brand recall. So branded content is a great way to resonate brand recall. So as you all are thinking about working with emerging brands or retelling the story, which many of our clients have had to do, and agency partners, they're having to pair up with their clients and figure out what is our new story that we are going to tell after the pandemic. Their business operations may have changed. We need to make sure that we're there and we're able to provide that brand recall through branded content at that 86%, which is really powerful statistic. So as we get started, we're going to do a pop quiz. So get those fingers ready. We want you to put this in the chat box. We're going to show you 2 different videos to kick off today. We want to make sure that we're getting off on the right foot and that everybody understands what branded content is. So please put in the chat if you think this is branded content. Put a yes. If you don't think it's branded content, put a no. We're going to show you 2 different videos, and here is the first one.
Strike out stress with Midway Moving and Storage, proud mover of the Chicago Cubs. Here at Midway Moving, we know there's no place like home. We also know that home is wherever you are headed, and we would love the opportunity to help you get there. We have been moving Chicagoland for over 3 decades. That's 3 decades of moving and storage experience throughout our beloved Windy City. All our movers are certified, insured, and trained at our Moving Training Center. With the largest moving fleet in Chicago, we can handle all of your moving and storage needs, including same-day moves, local, long-distance, and commercial moves. Call or chat with one of our moving specialists today, or visit us online at midwaymoving.com.
All right, hopefully you guys have put in the chat whether you think that's branded content, yes or no. So I see several of you are chiming in with no, you don't think that that's branded content. So we're going to go to the next example. Again, let us know yes or no, is this branded content?
Buying a home for the first time? As a real estate agent, I've guided buyers through this process for over 20 years now. And here are my 5 top tips when buying your first home. Tip number 1, don't get ahead of yourself. Get ahead of the process instead. Hold off on the home search until you can go over your budget and get pre-approved. This will require a loan application and a credit report. Tip number 2, it's not all about the money, but a lot of it is. Prioritizing and saving early will pay off. Make sure you have enough earnest money and down payment to make an offer when you find a home. Inspections and appraisals will be an additional expense. Plus, you might want to save for home furnishings and appliances. Tip 3, it's okay to have your hand held. Too many first-time home buyers make the mistake of thinking they can do this on their own. Rocket Mortgage is there to guide you every step of the way. turning a stressful situation into a seamless one. Talk with them early on to see what programs, loans, and interest rates you qualify for. Tip number 4, find a house that you can grow into. You need to be future oriented in your search, especially if you plan to grow your family. Tip number 5, finding the right home can be hard, but finding a trusted real estate agent can be easy. Rocket Mortgage by preferred agents like me, making the search that much easier. Tell them what you're looking for, then let them scope out the same. Go over what they found before scheduling any walkthroughs. Now let's go find you a place to call home.
Great job, everyone. So good job to Kevin. I see that you have answered both questions correctly, first out of the gate. So nice job there. Absolutely correct. That first video for Midway Storage was not branded content. And sometimes we see that branded content is overly overt in advertising messages. And that's why we wanted to point out the differences in these two videos. So the Midway Moving and Storage, we have a breakdown over here on the left where you can see the differences of the content that's within. So it did communicate company values, but it was overly overt. It was a typical advertising message that you would see. It ran exactly 60 seconds. There was also a 30-second spot, and it fit that standard formula. We're going to talk about the company. We're going to show the name, have that messaging there. Do repeat, 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 get that repetitive, and then call to action, right? But on the second video, it was much different. It was useful, relevant information. The tips that were delivered was relayed as an engaging list, more like a listicle of different sets of information on buying a house and tips for mortgages, right? It was authentic. It's a video that is highly engaging and will resonate with consumers. So it's that audience first approach. We want to make sure that we're distinguishing those two different factors as we move forward. Now we're going to continue to show you guys examples as we move along through today's presentation. So we're going to go through creative first, and then we're going to go through operationalization. So those are the two prongs we're going to focus on today. So when we talk about branded content, it really refers to content that is produced by a publisher that has brand integration, okay? So don't think of this as native ad placements. That's not the intention of branded content. Native ads are promotional ads for content, right? So the content really needs to be hosted on a publisher site. And the reason that that resonates well is there's content that's already on that site. People are actively going to those sites for news and information, and they're looking to be educated. So that's why that pairing is so beautiful and really resonates with readers and with users. So that's one of the reasons that it's important to have it hosted on a publisher site. So you don't really want to take native ads and then link it to a blog on your site. That's not what branded content is. It's looking, feeling, and operating just like that publisher site that it's on. So think about USA Today. That's where our articles are hosted that our journalists are writing. So we want to pair brands up with that and have it resonate with our consumers while they're reading other articles and pieces of information that are out there. And again, there's a lot of different formats for promotion, right? So we have native ads, display, and social media. And we're going to show you what those tactics look like for delivery and distribution. But what we have found is that there are 3 principles that you really want to follow when you're thinking about producing content that's going to be on a publisher site to create the best audience first engagement. And that is an approach that is revolving around your audience. What you want to do is make sure that you're informing them, you're engaging with them, and that you have the ability to connect with them. So when we talk about informing, what we're saying is we want to have rich content. We want to make sure that it's relevant to the user. We want to make sure that it's interesting. When we're talking about engagement, there's a lot of different formats that you can use. So whether it's virtual reality or it's an infographic or a quiz online, you want to make sure that you're creating pieces of content in different ways depending on that story that we're telling. And then we want to connect, right? We want to make sure that we are organically and authentically integrating that brand into the story. And we're going to show you some different ways that you can do that. So as we move forward, we're going to go through 4 tips on the creative side. So when we're talking about the content itself, these are our 4 tips that you really want to utilize that we have found work best for getting the highest engagement rates and brand recall for pieces of branded content. And the first one is quality over quantity. We really want to make sure that you are focusing on the most important story for your clients. So as you're creating these pieces and as you're pairing up with a publisher like USA Today, you really want to focus on that most important story first. And then you want to target those stories to readers and users that are on publisher sites that it's going to resonate with the most. So I'm going to show you an example next about quality over quantity, producing one video versus 30 videos or 30 different asset pieces and how that looks and feels. So next we're going to show you what quality over quantity looks like. I'm going to introduce you to Pip. So this is Pip. Isn't that a great video? If you're not screaming by the end of that, yay, Pip, good job. I don't know what will inspire you. So that is an example of telling your best story first, right? So hopefully that inspired and informed and it made you feel engaged with that brand of Southern Guide Dogs. So our next tip is going to be less is more. So this is where we're talking about overt brand messaging. It really garners less engagement. You want to make sure that we're not being overt with that brand messaging, right? So put the audience first, give them something relevant, give them something informative before you ask them for anything. So here's the next example. As we're coming up on holiday season, Ally Bank released this piece of branded content as a commercial on TV a few years ago. So we wanted to show this great example of branded content as we move into the holiday season. So here's our example from our partners at Ally Bank.
Good morning. My name is Brittany.
Thank you for calling Ally Bank. My name is Elliot.
Is there anything else that I could help you with today? Today is actually Thanksgiving.
We're looking to go a little above and beyond to help our customers out.
Well, I've done a lot of deals. So hard because I have a dog that I can't train for. I want to take my mom on a 60th birthday trip. I still have leaves that have to have their fall cleaned up.
Diapers can be pretty expensive these days, so we'd like to help contribute to that.
We wanted to offer you $7,000 to go on an anniversary trip with your wife.
Holy shit, that's incredible.
How about $1,000 towards camping gear?
Are you serious?
We just want to give you $500 just to make you smile, if that's okay.
Ally Bank is just going to give me $9,000.
Yes.
Where's the list? That's fantastic. Are you for real?
I'm absolutely for real.
Oh my God, that's great.
When was the last time you guys were able to connect in person?
May 2015.
2016, that's so long ago. It is Thanksgiving today here at Ally Bank, and I'd really like to help keep that love alive there. Would it be okay with you, Miss Atkins, if I did send you on a first-class trip to the Netherlands to go see her?
Yes, that would be fantastic.
I'll probably chuckle, and I'll never quite ask it the same way again when I say, is there anything else I can help you with today? We don't just want to send you out there to see her just the one time. We want you to be able to go see her again. And again. And again.
So what we do is set up those scholarships for young ladies who may be struggling, may not even have a high school diploma.
So what is it that you would like to do for your organization that you can?
We sort of kind of ran out of money to do like Thanksgiving baskets and Christmas baskets.
Well, today is Thanksgiving Day here at Ally, and I'd like to actually present you with $5,000 for your organization. Is that exciting? It's making me cry. That's amazing. You're welcome. You have a great rest of your day. The work you do definitely, it means a lot to me, and I know it definitely means a lot to the girls that you help as well. There are not a lot of people out there that think about other people. There are not a lot of people that give back. I present you with an additional $50,000. Shut up to continue doing
The people cry and laugh at the same time when they're happy. Thank you. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
So what a great commercial, right? And we didn't ask for anything. There wasn't a strong call to action. We just wanted to make an emotional connection and inform the world about Thanksgiving and who Ally Bank is for their clients, just like you guys try to do every day. So taking those most important stories, focusing on quality, focusing on less is more, and making that emotional connection. Our third tip is focus on the middle. So change perception, build consideration, and create interest. And that's a part of traffic drivers, right? You want to pair your branded content with other mediums that are out there. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to operationalization, but we really want to make sure that as you're thinking about these great content pieces that you're building out, and as you work with publishers, how are they disseminating this information? And are they pairing it up with different display advertising, social media, maybe email marketing? even some different print categories can work really well when you think about branded content. That's not necessarily an advertorial, because those can be very overt again, right? They can be self-serving. You can talk about the business a lot more readily in an advertorial when you're in print, but that's not what branded content is. Again, you want it to look more like journalistic integrity, and following that same format if you're going to put it in print. But we want you to focus on the middle. So following our theme of holidays, we wanted to share another example. When we talk about the middle and those traffic drivers, this isn't a results case. Doctors Without Borders came to us, and it was going into season of giving, just like we are right now, right? We're in the last 60 days of the year. And as agencies, many of you are probably working with nonprofits. And this is the most important time. A lot of times nonprofits, 80% of their revenue is coming in during season of giving. Well, Doctors Without Borders isn't any different. And the mission they came to us with is, how do we help them engage with people and communities, but drive donations? They were really trying to fundraise during season of giving. And part of the problem that they were having is the months leading up to fundraising, they just weren't hitting those benchmarks. So we came to the table with a new idea. Not only did we want to deploy branded content for them, but we wanted to A/B test 2 different types of promotion. So the first was adding in targeted advertisement. So this box you see in the middle, right here, these are targeted native ads. And we targeted those to the demographics that we knew would engage most with them. But we also incorporated lens targeting. And lens targeting allowed us to deliver pieces of content, deliver tile ads within other content stories. And those content stories had to meet a certain criteria. Those content stories had to be written in a way that they would create a sentiment with readers. And those sentiments had to be hope, sensitivity, compassion, love, courage, or empathy. So when you're thinking about branded content, you can target to certain demographics, but you can also target the way somebody feels when they're reading content in order to create that higher engagement rate. And you can see by doing that, the statistics at the top. The one I'm going to call out to you is lens targeting paired with branded content for Doctors Without Borders allowed 48% of the donations. That's what drove donations for them. So this wasn't the only campaign that they were running. So these are great results. So as you think about who your advertiser is and how you want to target your branded content pieces, think about these different categories and make sure you're working with publishers that have different variations of targeting that are out there. Some branded content pieces are not going to be for everyone, and you don't want massive impressions out there that you're paying for that aren't going to resonate with certain readers. So you really want to make sure that those are targeted well, and you want to be able to experiment and try new things with your clients. And this was a great result that we saw. Our 4th tip is going to be around engagement. So we really want you guys to focus on engagement metrics that matter. So this isn't the same as display online. We're not just looking at click-through rates, but we're also not looking at just conversion rates as far as lead volume. Branded content sits in the middle of the consumer journey funnel and the top of the consumer journey funnel. And its mission is to push consumers down further in the funnel to start researching and engaging with your brands more personally. So what we look at for engagement metrics are attention time and then engagement view metrics, which we're going to talk about more in operationalization here in just a second. But we really want to make sure that as you think about branded content, you're getting good reporting that allows you to understand what your engagement metrics are so that you can pivot quickly if your brand for your clients isn't resonating with consumers and readers on different publisher sites. So the 4 tips that you saw around content were quality over quantity, focusing on the middle, less is more, and worrying about your engagement rates that look differently than display. So what we want to do when you think about branded content is you're creating this beautiful content. It's quality, but you want to pair that with quality audiences. And that's one of the reasons that we talk about publishers. Publishers are trusted sources of news and information. So when you pair your clients' brands with that, it automatically creates a brand lift. It creates an extra sentiment of trust with the brand that's paired up next to the content that our journalists are producing every single day. And because those 2 factors work together, it automatically equals content engagement at higher rates for you all and your clients, and then brand lift. It creates intention for purchase. And we're going to show you some different results. So we have 3 tips. We focus on the 3 Ps when it comes to the operationalization. So when you're working with a publisher, make sure you're holding their feet to the fire on these 3 areas. Do your content pieces have promotion? And is that across trusted distribution networks? How are you looking at performance, and how do you optimize your branded content? Because branded content can be optimized. And are you getting proof metrics that showcase those meaningful connections? So first, we're going to talk about promotion. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry I have frozen here. There we go. All right, so for promotion, we have 3 prongs that we look at. So the first is that content promotion and distribution. The second is the type of branded content that we utilize, the vehicle that we're actually going to be driving, and then click-through destination engagement, which oftentimes individuals don't think about when they're producing branded content or publishing branded content. So we want to make sure that you guys focus on those areas. So the first is content promotion and distribution. So what you want to do is make sure that your branded content pieces are getting good promotion. So at USA Today, we use a couple different pieces. The first are native in-article ads, and you can see those on the screen. So we use tiles and in-article placements to promote branded content. It looks like, feels like, and operates just like other tiles they would see, other stories we're recommending to them. But these tiles can be targeted. So just like I talked about lens targeting with Doctors Without Borders, these different tiles can also be targeted to demographics, interest behaviors, shopping behaviors, purchase intent, all of that. So you want to make sure that you're working with publishers who have a type of vehicle that they can really tailor those distribution methods for your clients. And then you want to make sure that it's also paired with different social media outlets and application promotions. Mobile is a more than 50% engagement rates when it comes to branded content, but we often find that publishers don't have a vehicle for mobile. A lot of the focus is on desktop, and that's not necessarily what we're seeing from consumers. So you want to make sure that as consumers are getting their news and information and traveling across different content sites, that they're able to see your client's content in the same formats, in different ways that they're consuming information. And then next is the actual type of branded content. So oftentimes we see article placement, which is that bottom left example. Branded content can be so much more than that. And you really want to think about what is the messaging that we're trying to put out there. So the same way when we're developing plans, media plans, and you're working with clients and you decide, do I want to have video assets or social media assets? Branded content works the same way. So for instance, that top infographic example, this is a live example from Aetna. Their information that they were trying to relay was about different antibiotics. Well, imagine being a consumer and having to read an article about that. It could feel really overwhelming, and you probably wouldn't make it the whole way through. So instead, we take all the top points that we're trying to make and we design beautiful infographics that are highly engaging. That way, consumers are more likely to engage with the content. Same thing with quizzes. We find that quizzes are underutilized in the branded content space. How many of you, show of hands if you can get your reaction button up, have ever taken a quiz on social media? It may have sounded something like, what pizza topping are you? Or which Disney princess would you be? Most of us have probably taken a quiz of some sort. They're highly engaging. Consumers love them. You can incorporate those into brands as well. Here's an example. So on the right, we have a Tennessee Titans branded content article. Learn these NFL signals and follow the game when Titans take the field. That's great. A lot of individuals will probably read that, will tailor it towards sports, will tailor it towards people who want to go to sporting events, and probably those who like the Titans. But on the left, you could run a quiz. Prove your number rookie with, or your no rookie with this NFL rules quiz. Sorry about that, guys. I can't read today. So you can see that over on the left. Now, one of the reasons I also love quizzes, and this is important as you're thinking about building your client's database as an agency, quizzes can also allow you to collect information. What are the different answers that consumers are giving towards a brand or how they're engaging? You can also collect email addresses at the end or physical addresses. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize quizzes outside of engagement. It can also be a data capture for you. So we love quizzes. They're a great way to implement engagement with your clients. And if you're not utilizing these, make sure you are and that you're working again with distributors who allow all different types of content when you're producing this and distributing it. Lastly, the click-through destination. You want to make sure that you have ability to own your content pages. So you don't want to have an article that appears on a publisher site and someone else's ad brand is next to that content. You want to make sure that that is owned by your clients, but also that there's click-throughs within the article or at the bottom that refer someone to your site. Now, what we find is sometimes there are those click-throughs embedded with publishers, but it goes to the main website. You want to follow the same rules you would with regular advertising practices. Make sure if you have a piece of content that you're putting out there, you're directing someone to that same page about that same information on the topic on your client's actual website. So make sure that's incorporated. And then performance optimization. So something that we don't see often with other publishers is optimization of their content pieces. This is really important. You want to make sure that you have optimization around content. So you can see here this top stat. When we promote and optimize our different pieces of promotion, we have a 275% increase in click-through rates. That is amazing statistics there. So imagine having the same type of optimization on your content as you do with your other digital display campaigns or social media campaigns. You want to have that power. Our recommendation is to make sure that we have at least 3 promotional headlines and 2 thumbnails. You can see that at the bottom. So this is an example from our customer Publix, and you can see the top left thumbnail and the bottom right thumbnail are the same, but the headlines are different. The headlines on the top right and the bottom left are the same, but the thumbnails are different. We do this the same way you may launch a Facebook campaign and have different creatives, or maybe you have native ad placements and you're testing different headlines, descriptions, and imagery that's within those ad pieces. We do the same thing within branded content. So you really want to make sure that your pieces are being optimized appropriately. And then how do you know that branded content is actually working? We find that reporting can oftentimes just be click-through rates. Here's how many people saw your content piece and then click through to that. We want to make sure that we're measuring in a different way, similarly to how our journalists are measured. How do we know that a journalist's content is performing well? Well, it's not just about if somebody entered into the article. It's also about different interactions that happen within that article. Some of that is attention. So how much time was spent within that article piece, right? Do they have really high engaged view rates? So that means what percentage do we expose somebody to for that article? And then how many people actually went into the article and saw it? So that's similar to a click-through rate. So we want to make sure that that is there, that EVR rate. We also utilize third-party verification reporting. You're going to want to do that as well. You're going to want to make sure that the publishers that you're working with have reputable reporting that's out there. And there are some really high and valued reporting platforms and technology platforms that we partner with to make sure that we're giving you guys the right information that your clients are going to want to know. Another area is brand lift studies. We see that oftentimes people don't implement a brand lift study before launching a branded content campaign and then after a series of content pieces. Highly recommend that for any of you who are able to implement that piece. So here's what an EVR rate might look like. If you're working with branded content pieces, you're going to want to look at different benchmarks there. So you can see Polar is one of the industry leaders for data and reporting around branded content pieces. And that global view rate is 63%. Now we've given you the USA Today rates over here. So you can see we have a 66% EVR rate nationally. And then in our local markets, so when we're working with advertisers that are SMBs, our EVR rate is 73%. So again, when you're pairing that content and it's resonating really well with your consumers and readers on a publisher platform, those engagement rates just go up and up and up. The next is attention. You want to know how much time was spent within an article, and you don't want that to be dwell time. So time spent within an article is active time, and that's really important. So you want to make sure that you're being provided active time rates in your reporting. A secondary feature that you can get is scroll rates. How far down did someone make it in an article piece if you are actually producing an article piece of content? You want to know that. We measure that with our journalists too. If people are only making it or consumers are only making it halfway down the article piece, we need to know why. Is something embedded in the article and individuals think that the content has stopped? Or potentially that content piece just isn't resonating. So we could have an audience targeting problem, or we could have an actual content problem that we need to reformat that content and talk to our audience in a different way. You can find that out through scroll rates and attention time in seconds. So make sure that those factors are incorporated into your reporting when you're working with a publisher. And then brand lift studies. Ipsos is a great company. We utilize them for the Ipsos Connect and through Polar. So we use them for brand lift studies. And here are some examples. So when incorporating branded content, you can see that there is a huge list. Our exposed group at 35% when it came to brand lift. You can see this stat over here on the right. Purchase intent increased by 53% among those who responded with definitely on, are you likely to use or buy from X brand that the content is about. So if you have the ability to implement a brand study prior to launching your branded content campaign, and then do that multiple times throughout the campaign, maybe at a 6-month mark or 12-month mark, it'll provide you some really good stats on how that content is elevating brand lift for your clients. So here are the takeaways from today's session. So first, we talked about content and that audience first storytelling, quality over quantity, less is more, focusing on the middle, right? And then of course, engagement was in there. Engagement's also under operationalization. So when you're thinking about who you're going to partner with when it comes to producing content and then distributing it for your clients, you want to make sure it's a premium audience, but it's also a trusted distribution network. You want to make sure that there's good promotion paired with that, and that the publisher you're working with has the ability to optimize those pieces. And then you want to make sure that your reporting includes engagement metrics that matter so that you can pivot quickly for your clients. So branded content works. We hope that you guys implement this for your clients. We hope that if there's an opportunity for you to work with us, if you're not already, we can help you leverage content pieces that you're building out. So these are our takeaways from today. I am going to open it up and see if Lauren or Sarah, if we have any outstanding questions in the chat, or if anybody wants to come off mute, you can do so now. If there are no questions, what I'm going to do is show you this last slide. So today you guys are at the branded content, the future of storytelling. But our next sessions are a lot more technology focused. So we did talk about reporting today. We talked about some aesthetics of creative. Next, what we're going to jump into is cross-media marketing. We're going to have some product developers on this call, and we are going to show you some technology solutions that allow budget to seamlessly transfer across different mediums in the online space as consumers convert and as engagement goes on. So that's going to be an exciting session. Smart ad technology. That is driven by sales data. So we're going to show you what that looks like. And then our last session in January, we're going to have our data scientists on the call. We're going to show you some different studies that we've done around a smarter approach to creative, which implements machine learning, human elements, and then our data scientists have analyzed that. And they're going to be able to show you some really cool studies as you go into 2022. So we hope that you enjoyed today's session. We hope that if you haven't registered for the other 3, that you do so. And we also have individuals who will reach out to any of you if you're not already working with us, but you would like more information about Local IQ and our agency partnership affiliate program. We're going to get that information out to all of you. So thank you for joining today's session, and we hope to see you at the upcoming ones here over the next few weeks. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you at the next webinar.